So thank you. Really appreciate the time today. I am going to spend some time educating you on foster care in Ohio. I think it's really important for our community to understand what's happening in foster care. And from there, then we're going to talk a little bit about Pathway Caring for Children, what we do. And then I'll tell you, I'll kind of string in kind of my role and how you can get involved if you feel like you want to do so. There's lots of ways to be able to get involved. So I'm going to share screen. So this is where Yolanda helped me. So I've never done this. So Yolanda, okay. Share screen. Share. Yay, can you see it? Awesome. Okay. Yolanda, you should be proud because I am not a techie. So what we're going to cover, oh, I can't page down though. Okay. Yes, I can. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise. I won't make you do jumping jacks unless you want to, but we're going to do something called a loss exercise, and it's really going to show you and have you feel the impact of what these kiddos feel every single day when they come into foster care. I'll do an overview, again, as I mentioned, about foster care, talk about Pathway Caring for Children, kind of next steps, how you can get involved. And then if there's time for questions, if there isn't, you can reach out to me at any time and we can talk personally of how you want to get involved. So, loss exercise. I'm going to read, so I apologize, but I just feel like I need to. So on a piece of paper, I want you to write down 2 people that you love. Only 2. I know it's hard. There's a lot more, but just write 2 names of people that you love. And then I want you to write 2 possessions that are valuable to you. It may be your wedding ring. It could be an Afghan that your grandma knitted for you as a baby. It could be anything, just 2 items that are valuable. And then I want you to write down 2 characteristics that you're proud of. Maybe your integrity, maybe your, something about your morals and values system, 2 things that you're proud of yourself. Okay, we're good? Okay, so this is a real story, and so I want to tell it to you. And this is one child's journey through foster care in her life. So we're going to say her name is Sarah. And Sarah lived with her mom and her little brother. And her grandma was very instrumental and really important in their life. Grandma lived very close to mom and Sarah and her little brother. So she spent a lot of time with grandma when mom worked. At about 8 years old, mom started dating a new man, and very soon, really quickly into the relationship, mom told them that they were going to move in with her new boyfriend. And so this was hard, but Sarah and her brother said, okay, like this is what we're going to do. So when they're packing everything up and they're getting ready to move, she was told she couldn't take her bike because there wasn't enough room at her house. So I want you to take one of your key possessions and I want you to cross it off. So once they moved, her mom's boyfriend started limiting the amount of time that Sarah and her little brother could see her grandma. It unfortunately became less and less time grandma got to spend. And so eventually she was not able to see grandma. And she just started to kind of see her less and less. She talked to her on the phone, but she didn't really see grandma as much as she wanted. The other thing that happened during that year is that Sarah's mom's boyfriend started coming into her room at night and sexually assaulting her. So I want you to cross off one of the people that you love because she's lost grandma and she doesn't really get to talk to grandma, to see her, share her feelings or what's happening to her. And one of her morals and values have also been lost because of the trauma that she's now experiencing. So I want you to cross off that. That unfortunately went on for 3 years. Finally, a teacher, she confided in a teacher, and the teacher called Children's Services. An investigation was done, and during that investigation, they also found that the brother had bruises on him. And so the child with the bruises, the little brother, was removed from the home first, actually, while the other investigation was still happening. So the second person that you love now cross off because now she's lost her brother. And in some way, she feels like by telling a teacher, she's now lost her brother. While all of this was going on, grandma became sick. And so, unfortunately, because grandma was sick, grandma couldn't take care of that child, the brother or Sarah. So they had to be placed in foster care. So the brother was placed in foster care. And then when the police officers, and I'll kind of explain how this goes, but when the police officers arrived to pick up Sarah, everything that Sarah owns always has to be packed into one bag. And I'll talk about that bag because there's lots of conversations around that. But everything has to be packed into one bag. And if it can't fit in that bag, it does not go. It's one bag only. So just think about that for a second. Everything you have in your life is in one bag. And unfortunately, she forgot because this happens very fast. They're moving very fast to get that child out as soon as possible, so it's as safe for the child as possible. She forgot to take a stuffed animal, and that stuffed animal was given to her from her grandma. So now your last possession goes. So her brother and Sarah are with the same foster family, and they're wonderful people. Things were going as well as could. I mean, there were struggles. There was a lot of trauma by both the brother and and Sarah had experienced. And Sarah certainly was acting out because of some of the sexual abuse that she had experienced. The amazing news is that the foster family never gave up on them and really continued to work with them. But that child really lost Sarah lost the most important people in her life. So when she lost her grandma, she lost her brother for a short period of time by kind of telling on the boyfriend. She went into foster care and lost her mom. Her pride was taken away by the abuse that she'd experienced, and she lost her possessions, which was really the only thing that felt like it was hers and hers alone. The great news of this story, though, is those two were adopted, and they're doing wonderful, and they're still working on some of the things that they have to experience, or they have experienced, excuse me. So the reason that I tell you that story is it really puts in perspective what all of the children that come into foster care, they all have a different story, but they all lose things, and they all lose possessions. They all lose people that they care about, and they all lose a little part of them. And so our goal is to put them in loving homes and start to rebuild so they trust themselves, They start and learn to trust others. They learn to love themselves and love others. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Okay. Thank you for doing that exercise. So, foster care in the United States is handled differently in each state. Ohio has three characteristics that they consider foster care. There's traditional foster care. Those are children that are in foster parent homes, which we are an agency that provide those homes, a private agency working with the state. There's also residential treatments. Residential treatments are typically for teens. You sometimes hear that there's homes for women or girls, for boys, and some have both, and then they have wings. But residential treatment are for children that just are struggling with a home environment. They need more structure, and they need some additional services around counseling. There's also kinship care. Kinship care is very, very important, and it is a large percentage in Ohio. And kinship care can be formal or informal. A formal kinship care is just what you think of. That is the grandmother who has legal custody of her grandkids. And then there's the informal. It might be the neighbor. I actually know someone a loving family who her teenage son's best friend does not have the best home life. So she said, come on. And he kind of lives at the house. She feeds them. She takes him on vacation. She has a lot of the traditional services as you would think about being part of their family, but it's an informal version. In Ohio, we unfortunately are the 5th highest state of children in foster care today. We have just shy of 16,000 children in care through these two are traditional and kinship care. Because we have, we're like just shy of 16,000. I see numbers come out monthly, and we're just shy. We're like 100 away. But we don't have 16,000 foster families. We have about 7,000 foster families in Ohio. So sometimes those foster children, again, go to residential treatment, they're in kinship. Some do go out of state, but majority, the state of Ohio's goal is to keep them in the state. And the goal is always reunification with the biological family of some sort. And that definitely happens. Reunification happens because let's say, biological mom has a plan because let's say there's neglect. There has to be food in the refrigerator. There has to be diapers. There has to be the necessities to raise that child that she has or children. If she manages that plan, then she gets her children back in that home. And that's that reunification process. And that's always a wonderful day. That doesn't always happen. And so sometimes reunification comes in another form. It might be that grandma or an aunt steps up and says, I want to take care of this child. And then we'll start the formal kinship care program and reunification with family. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And then we'll start the adoption services, and we'll talk a little bit about adoption services. So in regards to foster care, it could be very short term. It could be a few days to 2 years, and then a child is adopted. It really depends on the situation. It's very unique. We had a scenario about a year ago that, unfortunately, because of the drug overdose, um, the biological mom passed away, and grandma was grieving. She just lost her daughter, and she was not mentally or physically or even had the essentials in her home ready to go to take three kiddos. So those three kiddos came into foster care. Grandma went through the grieving process, got everything together that she needed. We provided her resources to make sure that she had the crib, she has the things that she needed for that particular age group. There were two in diapers. And then it took about like 4 days, and then we reunified with grandma. So every situation is unique. In Cuyahoga County, let me take a step back. Every county also handles foster care uniquely. So the state manages foster care different than Indiana versus Pennsylvania, but then our counties handle it a little different. Today, we are registered with 14 counties, Northeast Ohio. And so we manage those requirements based on the county. Cuyahoga County has the largest number of children in foster care of the 88 counties. There are 3,000 children in foster care coming out of Cuyahoga County in a year. The difference really is how the process works. So the process starts the same. A referral is made, meaning a doctor, a neighbor, a nurse, a teacher calls in and they do an investigation. Each county will do an investigation. And if a child or children need to be removed from their home, they are. And the sheriff's department will go and remove that child or sibling group. Yes, it is only one bag. In the past, the bag has been a garbage bag. That is true. Cuyahoga County is now making changes to their program that it can be a duffel bag or a suitcase. And they're working really, really hard at that. Cuyahoga County, unfortunately, has so many children in foster care. It's hard to keep up with having those duffel bags and getting those suitcases. So that's why that's important. And that's why you kind of see those Facebook and, right? Like, does anybody shake their head, kind of has seen any about that? No. So you'll see like, oh, you can donate, use suitcases, things of that nature. I'll tell you a little bit about how Pathway does it, but regardless, that happens. And then when that child comes into custody of the county, then the county tries to find a foster family that they've licensed within the county. And if they can, they do it. If they can't, then that's when they would reach out to a private agency like Pathway, and they would send a referral. There's one child, there's three children, here's their age, here's their medical condition, here's the trauma they've experienced. And then we see if we have a good home that matches the needs of that child. For example, if the child needs a feeding tube and we don't have a family that's comfortable or prepared for that, we may say this is not our referral. We should not take this child into one of our licensed homes. It's not going to work for our family or for that child. It's not the right fit. And I'll talk a little bit about fit. Some counties handle referrals differently. Some counties, Stark County is a perfect example. It's a much smaller county. They use an outside agency. It's almost like a private detective. I know it's not it's a really good analogy because it really simplifies things. They hire a company to say, okay, here's this child going into care. Can you see if you can find a family member? And then that that third party will try to find a family member. So they may find a family member, a distant cousin in Texas, and Stark County will call this distant cousin in Texas and say, hey, your distant cousin, Kim, are losing her children to foster care. Are you willing to be foster parents for your distant cousins to keep those family connections? Cuyahoga County does not do that. They do look for kinship care, but they look within the environment, within the parameter. They don't hire a company, and they don't look for out of state. For a couple different reasons. Majority is because of the numbers and the amount of money. So Cuyahoga County, the referrals we get a lot of sibling groups and young babies right from Metro. We're getting a lot of infants 2-3 days old. There's no family, or the family can't take care of a child. The child typically has drugs in their system, and mom unfortunately has like mental health issues or drug abuse issues. And so we will take the infant from newborn. Stark County, our referrals in Stark County are less, probably because they have this outsourcing, but also we get more teenagers. We get an older population coming into foster care. So every county is different. So that's a little bit about foster care. Okay, am I doing okay? Thumbs up. Okay, and manage my time. Jane, go like, you're done. Okay, so Pathway Caring for Children, we're a private nonprofit agency. So again, we work with 14 counties, and our goal is to rescue, nurture, and launch. So now I'm going to tell you about those three. So I talked about the referrals, and I talked about all of these numbers. Really what that means is that when we receive a referral, we have an intake team, and she tries to match the child with a family. And we pride ourselves on getting the fit right. The last thing we want is for a child who's had all this trauma. So think about that loss exercise and losing all their loved ones. They get placed in a home, and then we go, oh, wait, this isn't the right fit. And now we have to move that child to another home. No, absolutely not. We need it to the right fit. We need that child and that family to be the right fit. And really the only reason that a child is removed from a home is reunification. Typically, sometimes there are challenges with our older teens, and we find that a residential home is better suited. That comes through time. But we always try to do a personal home before a residential home if we can. So we will get a referral. We say, yes, we can take this sibling group. We have a family. It's a great fit. The foster family has the availability, the room, the physical space in their home. And we work with the sheriff's department to pick up that family or child with their belongings. So that their belongings with the child, our intake director personally gives every child a duffel bag. Duffel bags are different based on age. They all have a blanket. They have a book. Teens get personal, like the boys get Axe body wash and things that they need. Shampoo, conditioner, a toy. Infants get like teething toys, things of that nature. Jessica donated, which was wonderful, flashlights. Every single child who comes into care is afraid of the dark. Bad things happen at dark, whether they're abused or neglected. They're left at home a lot at night. So just bad things happen at night and they don't like the dark. So we always give a flashlight or a night light. So they always get a duffel bag, and that duffel bag is theirs and they will keep. So now they have, at least if they're reunified and go home, they have 2 bags, if not more. Our foster parents are wonderful. So that's kind of the rescue part. The nurture comes in with ongoing counseling services. So those kiddos need the counseling services to break down the barriers and break down that they can start to trust themselves and love themselves and deal with the trauma that they've experienced. We do this kind of on a one-to-one setting, and then we also bring in the foster family and do family connection groups as well. In addition to working with our foster children, we do have community-based counseling services. So we have about 100 children. It ranges between 100 and maybe 110 children in foster care, but we serve about 1,000 children a year with counseling services. It could be anxiety, it could be a recent divorce, it could be more traumatic trauma, it could be mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar. So we work with a hospital, with a psychologist, and we'll do the counseling services. We counsel about 75 clients a day in person, and then of course telehealth. We made the transition to telehealth. We didn't know how it was going to go with technology. What was amazing is families loved it. Telehealth is really going well. Now, telehealth is something the state had to approve. So when COVID happened, the state loosened the rules around HIPAA to allow Metro Health, agencies like ourselves, any organization for telehealth. So if you've ever even had a telehealth doctor, an appointment yourself, that's because of loosening rules. So we are not sure when this kind of ends, if it's ever going to, if Ohio will kind of rescind those lax rules and we won't be able to offer telehealth. But for right now, we are. And on a personal note, for your own doctor, I would just think you're going to do it until you hear you can't as well. We do offer a camp every summer. It's probably one of the most normal things that these kids have in their lives. They look forward to it. We get grant money to pay for the entire thing. They go for an entire week to summer camp. And we are doing it this year. I know, we had 50 people, 50 kids already by January. I mean, these kids, I'm getting the chills. Like, they're so excited. And we have to make changes. We have to take 2 buses. I mean, there is a lot to it. And our mental health director is working really, really hard to pull that off. But it's for teens, 14 to 18, and they get to go to camp, and it's amazing. We have therapy groups, from equine group to a hip hop group to a nurture and grow, which they plant flowers, and they can see that if they nurture something and take care of something, they get to see the tomato and the green beans, and they take it home to their foster parents and they're all excited. We have art therapy, lots of things. And then the last thing, and I shouldn't say like last but least, it's because it's a very important to our pillars of support, is adoption and post-adoption support. So on the very best days, it's either reunification or adoption. if an adoption happens, I mean, our whole office is just like our case manager who manages that child. They literally like are smiling from ear to ear. They're so excited. They go down to the courthouse. It's like the best, happiest day ever. Um, but what we find is that adoption is the best day ever. Whether you adopt through Pathway, it's a private adoption agency, it's an international adoption, it's the best day. And then the days go by and it may not still be the best day because, you know, oh, that's your child, you have adopted them. That doesn't mean that their trauma is gone. It doesn't mean that the natural bond that you have with your biological child just like happens. It doesn't. And unfortunately, adoptive parents don't have a lot of places that they can go. So we work very closely with the Adoption Network. We work closely with Beachbrook. We provide free services for any family who is adopted, whether they've adopted through us or not. And we have family groups. So we have a mom's breakfast. We have a mom's retreat. We have a dad's monthly, they grab beer and they go bowling, or they may have dinner at Panera, or we have a family connections group. So it's to take that family that now feels like it needs to be a unit, but isn't quite there, and we get them there. We use a very specific methodology to do that with our counseling and our post-adoption, and it's trauma-based. And we believe wholeheartedly that if we start with trust, then we move to correction. So with biological families, we might be able to, say to our son who is throwing potatoes at his brother, stop, come on, Bobby, don't throw potatoes at your brother. And he'd be like, oh, okay, sorry. He may roll his eyes, right? Those are things that's just part of the DNA of the connection you have. But a child has experienced trauma. You can't just tell a child with trauma, don't do that, and you're going to get a timeout. It doesn't work. So we actually reteach parenting style of first you build trust, then you correct. And I've actually sat in on it, and it's amazing. I actually wish that this would have been offered a long time ago, because I've used this in situations with my teen daughter, and it's gone so much better than an arguing and a bickering of who's in control of the situation, my teen or me. And we work together for a resolution. So it's really, really unique. And because we know children of trauma, we have to work with them differently to have end results that they need and we want. So that takes us up to launch. So a child ages out of foster care at 18 years old, or when they're out of high school, whichever comes last. Yeah, whichever comes last. So Ohio, because of, again, the pandemic, they have relaxed those rules that now you can age out of foster care when you're 21. Because of the challenges that we're experiencing. However, what we do is we take all of our teens, and when they are starting at about 14, 15 years old, we start working with the foster parents around life skills, how to change a tire, how to cook, how to clean, just basic life skills. We bring in a bank to talk about how to balance a checkbook. We work with them on how to fill out their first application if they don't have a foster parent who feels comfortable themselves doing it. But we also provide these life skills for community clients. So we have a learning center, and the picture on the right is actually a picture of our learning center. It's a house, and we bring teens, community-based teens, and it's a safe place for them to go. They can do their homework, they can play basketball, but they also can do these life skills, and it is helpful. In addition, Ohio has started a program almost 2.5 years ago now. It's called the Bridges Program, and it's just what you think. It's to bridge a young adult who's aged out of foster care into adulthood at 21. And what the Bridges Program does is the state runs it. We happen to be a registered provider. So what happens is a child ages out of foster care at 18, they fill out an application, pretty easy application, with the state gives the thumbs up that, yep, you can be in the Bridges Program. What that means then is that child gets a monthly stipend to help them pay for rent and food. And the kind of to dangle the carrot, if you will, and have some skin in the game, the state says, okay, we'll give you this monthly stipend, but you need to prove to us that you are working or going to school or working on a trade, right? So trade school, let's say Tri-C or Cleveland State, or you have a job. And if one of those three things, you meet that criteria, we will give you this monthly stipend up until the age of 21. In addition, then Pathway will provide you a liaison or a case manager. We just don't use that term because they've had so many case managers through their life to help them. So we will meet with them weekly. How's the housekeeping going? Open up the refrigerator. Let's get some good fruits and vegetables in here. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about healthy nutrition. Let's continue that life skill. We start with actually managing their money a lot of the time. And then we get them to a point by the time they're 21, they're doing it all themselves. So they're ready and self-sufficient, and they build up so they're ready to go. So that's the Bridges Program. It's very exciting that that started. And that's growing, the number of kids coming in. Okay, so now next steps, if you feel moved by anything I talked about, you and I can talk personally about what makes sense for you. So there's a couple of things you can do. As Jessica mentioned, I do a monthly mission tour, and I know Mary has tried to come, and I keep canceling it because of COVID. But darn it, Mary, Mary, I'm going to have a specific one, I promise. But I am going to do one in July. The Zoom was the first virtual one I did. At first, I thought COVID would last a few months. I just wouldn't do it. And then I realized, nope, that's not going to happen. So I'm taking it virtual, and it's really a way to meet our executive director and meet all of our directors and learn even more about Pathway. You can always volunteer, and we can talk about how you want to volunteer, what we need, or what you can bring to the table, because what you can bring to the table might be different than someone else. And so definitely can volunteer. You can donate. That's, again, very different. Some people want to individually donate. Thank you, Jessica. She donated a lot of mini, super cute hot pink for those that want hot pink, and like I think black or silver, and they're just these little tiny, and they're amazing. So she did that. Some people say, I want my company to get involved. So we're going to do a company donate drive. That's also, I'm going to go to your website and I'm going to fiscally donate. I'm going to donate every month. I'm going to donate one time, $25, $10, $2,000. And that all goes back to programming. So cash is always king, but we need things too. You can also set up a peer-to-peer campaign. You see a lot on Facebook saying it's my birthday. I have a goal of $200. And so we can do that. And of course, I'd be remiss to say, of course, you can become a foster parent or a respite parent. And I'll leave you at that. So a respite parent is someone who, in very simple term, almost is like a babysitter, but you're assigned a specific family and a specific child. So if there's a newborn in the home and this foster family already has their own biological, they have 3 children, they may have to go somewhere and they're like, oh, I would love a break. I would love to just for one day or one night, can we just kind of send this newborn baby to get some love and cuddles from Yolanda for a day? And Yolanda gets the cuddles and the love, and she's done an amazing job. And then the next day she goes, there you go. And that foster family can get a break. Yolanda is doing good in the world, and this little newborn is getting all the love and support they need. So we have both respite and full foster parents. So there's options there.